and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Over.
This is Rangru, hello, hello, hello.
And folks, are coming to you with some more of the monthly tournament. This is the 30-minute time limit. Today we're on Siano. Rang, who do we have?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have Piuritana playing Toulon with a Maverick Income. Right-hand side in red, we have a WitchDoctor playing as Task Force Butler, also with Maverick Income. And yes, like with the previous week's replays, we don't read anything. You know, I can barely read to begin with. Yeah, apparently the reason why people left after 30 minutes is that there's a 30-minute time limit for this monthly tournament. Who would have thought? So, that's why the deck's a very Maverick B-phase focus. But I like his quite a lot. I think shorter matches are usually a bit more fun. I mean, we usually try to cast shorter matches. We don't want to be doing 50-minute long slugfest. So, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to actually see more replays from the tournament, knowing it's purely about that.
Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. I write words, I don't read them. That's what other people do. So, looking at this though too, it's kind of funny. Like you mentioned the idea of punchier games. I think that was always one of the biggest gripes that we had about SD44 is that since you had to hunt for that 5149, the second you got that, at that point, it's like, okay, I'm not moving. Screw it. And then we have a 50-minute bleed out, and that was just, ugh. There were days I felt like I was going to sleep. So, you're right. Punchier games, going for it, I like it. Like it a lot.
Yeah, so far in this match, it's been not super punchy. There's no real major rush in any of the towns. It's just a slower attack.
Well, remember, no Russian.
Especially in this match.
Exactly. We're not seeing flamethrower troops being thrown on forward. We're not seeing some crazy open light vehicle build. I mean, this is Toulon that doesn't really have a crazy light vehicle opening. This is just, again, the hodgepodge division. And against Task Force Butler, not that much different when you think about it. And indeed, you can see, what do we have? A couple of cavalry scouts really is like the lightest thing you can get over here from the Americans. And no, these are not guys that play the rush game. These are far more bite and holdy.
Yeah, Tanner definitely getting a good advantage up north here, pretty much getting into the northern strip with really no contestant whatsoever. WitchDoctor getting very slow onto the hilltop here. And then just down south, it's also pretty slow and steady. You are seeing Tanner really utilize his aircraft quite a bit, bringing in recon planes as well as an off-map artillery.
And that's going to be kind of the fun thing, isn't it? Is that, first of all, this off-map artillery is still a float plane, which is phenomenal, because how many float planes do we see ever? And second, this is the same kind of guy who also, he just basically chucks little bombs out the window, and you know, isn't that just lovely?
But we're going to be seeing the off-map being dropped in a rather good location here, and hopefully Tanner will do a counterattack afterwards, because he could pretty easily capture that town. It's really not a whole lot really anywhere from WitchDoctor's front line. It's quite barren all over.
Now, unfortunately, he did just lose his artillery off-map. That float plane, well, he doesn't float so good when he's been punched full of holes. And I think, to a certain degree, the Hellcat was a victim of his own success. Is that, you know, he kind of stayed in there. Hey, yo, I've got 6.12.7s on me. I'm in good shape. And no, very much not in good shape, sir.
And same with the infantry in the town. The off-map artillery is dropping. Tanner is already initiating an attack with the infantry. And yeah, that should be a pretty easy capture. We are seeing one M8 Greyhound try to go for the flank. It can provide actually a decent amount of firepower, as there's not real any anti-tank nearby at 47mm is quite a bit out.
Yeah, but the M8 is also a little bit underpowered at this point because all he has is HE shells because he's 12.7 actually at aircraft. So, yeah, it's scary-ish, but not like
it's not really. Throughout the 50 cal, that's totally ignorable. No, he's just gonna run into the 47mm, which, yeah, when he's on a 50 cal in an M8 Greyhound, it's kind of useless.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now I want to kind of take a quick look at some of the infantry disparity here because. Yes, let's take the Kriegsmarine Infantry. Yes, that is a freaking old machine gun.
Yep, that's the World War I run.
I mean, of course, they're not terrible with the Bergmans. They're just kind of there, which is kind of the issue.
Yeah, they're good infantry for overall, because a bulky 20-point squad. 12 guys, yeah, the small arms aren't great. You got some AT at least, yeah. A little bit equivalent to Strokey squads, really.
And isn't that kind of what we're hoping for? Something that's vaguely Strelky-ish, that can take some hits, that can still, keeps on ticking. I mean, they're very, very different than the Kriegsmarine Besatzung up to the northern side of those 3 MG-34s, but they're still pretty solid.
Yeah. They're really just, yeah, to just take fire. And then all the other guys like the Marrows and the Kriegs and the U-boat guys during the actual fighting. But we're seeing Tanner slowly make his way through the town. He's got that 13-11, which is going to put him on a very good advantage. Yeah, really, WitchDoctor needs to make something happen. I mean, Tanner's going to make something happen down south. He's bringing in what little armor he has.
Yeah, so a quick reminder what that armor actually looks like. You got 39 H's and a couple Panzerjäger RSOs. So, of course, the RSOs are just basically, we're going to stick a 75 mil on a track. But other than that, I mean, you don't need a whole lot.
Yeah,
all things considered. Yeah, please.
No, especially right now, just all the M8 Greyhounds. It's like a 105 Sherman. That's nothing.
And right now, actually, we're seeing the 47 mils. The Italian. Okay, yeah. So these are the Italians. I was like the 177. Yeah. So we have these light anti-tank guns. I kind of forget the fact that they actually do have a little bit of HE. And unfortunately, those 57 mils, yes, because this is an American unit, damn it. No HE on those guys.
Oh. Not going to be all that useful in this scenario. He really just needs to get some better fire support. He's getting another 105 Sherman, some more rifles. I mean, Tanner's going a little bit slow in this town attack. I think he's just waiting for the infantry support. I'm guessing he thinks there's more infantry actually entrenched in a town than it actually is. So he's just taking his time, but it's working for him.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to take a look up to the north in just a second. So I want to watch as the 39Hs and the M8 start to duel with each other. A little bit impotently for a second, I'm sure. But there is a push, a very heavy push actually happening to the northern side. Engineers, riflemen, late. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Because there's a very, very big reinforcement column coming the other direction. And here's the 39H. This is going to get wrecked.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's quite a shock there.
Yeah, the armor in those French tanks are not great, but it's much better than the M8 Greyhound.
One of the things I've never really looked into, perhaps you can help me on this one. Does angling actually change the armor value?
No, in this game.
I didn't think it did, but it was a curiosity more than anything else. Love seeing this recon plane, by the way. Constant stuff. As of right now, it's really just forcing all of these 12-7s just to waste ammunition. Firing up into the air. So.
Better shooting at the aircraft and the actual infantry. So, not bad. I mean, you're seeing the M8 Greyhound pretty much became useless because of used up all their 50 cal ammo. But yeah, WitchDoctor is starting to gain a little bit of momentum. I mean, down south, he's investing in a whole heap of tanks and tank destroyers. Up north, his push is slow down a bit. He's managed to get that northern forest. It's a good position to be in, but you really need to follow through by starting to get some infantry into the northern town.
The Panzerjäger, by the way, there was a brace of them. That brace is down to 1, but taken out a Sherman in the meantime. And we've talked about it just a couple seconds ago. I would argue that every single loss that gets taken here from the American side and Task Force Butler actually hurts a lot more than it hurts Toulon, because Toulon's got nothing in the first place, so they have literally nothing to lose.
Yeah, and you can also rely on all the heavy anti-aircraft guns and anti-tank guns roll. I mean, you do have a good amount of Shermans and whatnot with Task Force Butler, but he, especially early on with the 105s and the M4s, he needs them alive because his infantry's so-so. You need the tank fire support to actually back him up.
True. Now, that push to the northern side contained, we have Kriegsmarine, we have Sicherungs, we have Scharfschützen, and we have 4 more squads just ready and raring to go as necessary. Down at the southern side, rifles being thrown on into the front, but we have more Marrows, we have, stovepipes? Oh, okay. We have a pair of stovepipes to the north, we have a pair of stovepipes to the south. And that, to me, if I am WitchDoctor is screaming, there's going to be an attack here soon. So these rifles getting here at the appropriate time. At the same time, I'm a little bit nervous for them.
Yeah, they're a little bit outgunned in this scenario, or outnumbered, I should really say. And there we go, 15-9 here for Tanner, so he is doing absolutely well for him. I mean, there's only 20 minutes or so left in this match, so if he even gets to, keep up his point play for another 5 minutes or so, he is in a very good position.
Well, and here's one thing, too, that we didn't really talk about with this 47 mils, but just how it happened just now on that arterial coming into the town. They don't really have a lot of punch, but when your opponent is driving a truck, that doesn't really matter.
They also have a very high fire rate, which
Yes.
does make them very good at stunning and especially killing light vehicles because, quantity can has a real quality of its own.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and that's really all you need to do is just get interdiction. The same way we see these rifles right now falling back, Kriegsmarine infantry. Yep, POS machine gun, but it's good enough. We get nice and close. So actually, this MP28s go really, really well.
Up here comes the Stuart, going to be forcing the Kriegsmarine back, but not really too much of an issue there for Tanner. Just as long as he holds onto that flag, I don't think he's going to really push any further from that forest. It's quite a big ask, especially for Toulon, which is a pretty slow division. It'd take way too long for just infantry footsurg to go through all that bloody forest.
Northern side, I've actually seen the mortars to the northern side here for Tanner. Gonna start lofting smoke, and then drop down some fire over here as these rifles start to move in. I'm wondering if it's because he's got those 4 squads of infantry in the back. If he's waiting to deploy them, maybe we're seeing a counterpunch beginning to happen here? An unnecessary one, but a counterpunch nonetheless.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. He's been those guys in reserve.
Yep. Here we go. Unfortunately, there is still a 57 mil that's in the area, and he doesn't know that's the case. Because that thing has been placed and just hasn't fired since then.
Yeah. He'd probably knock out a truck or two, but honestly, not too scary. I mean, Tanner's main force is all infantry. And of course, not having any high explosive shells is a bit of a detriment.
You know what's not a detriment, though? A P-47 coming on in with basically about 1,000 pounds of bombs.
What infantry? I don't see any anymore.
Yeah, I think they're doing the best chance to do the diorama of the surface of the moon. So, and a nice quick reaction as the first truck does go up in smoke. The rifles are really going to regret this because now they're taking fire from 5 different squads.
Yeah, and the American infantry, they're bulky and they're good in more close quarters engagements thanks to semi-auto rifles. But in a machine gun fight, that's not exactly a strong shoot, and there's no real vehicles like those Shermans to back them up here. So Tanner's just going to be able to completely suppress him down and then take his point.
Well, there's a couple of lagging infantry squads being brought in now, kind of like that, thumbing their nose at this next bit here. Yeah, 57 mils getting hammered right now.
Very good use of the artillery here from Tanner, especially using that smoke quite effectively. I do love seeing good smoke play as usual. And yeah, the 57 mil is completely useless now.
That's one of the things we have to always acknowledge. Tanner's been around the game for a really long time. And I have to say, he goes into these ebbs and flows. Oop, wait. We're seeing a off-map coming down to the southern side. So expect to see a push here. We're seeing rifles being pushed. That's a 203, yeah. So, gonna see a good chunk of firepower being lofted down that direction.
We're not really hitting, like, the main force here.
You know, I think he's trying to go and send a message. You know, leave a couple of guys alive. See, he kills the 47 mil, but, you know, he's everybody else alive to kind of send a message to everybody else. Like, yo, guys, this is my territory. This is my land. Watch yourself. You know, whole kind of thing right there.
World War II is really just one big turf war.
Dude, that's what every single turf war is. I mean, there's a podcast I listen to that talks about every single war being inbred dudes beefing over turf, and it's kind of hard to disagree on this case.
Yeah, especially like, you know, the old feudal system.
Now, was that feudal or futile?
Feudal, but it was eventually futile.
Just making sure I understood you correctly. Now, Brandenburger, Scharfschützen, you know, yeah, there's a bit of an overreaction in terms of all the troops being brought in here to the southern side. But, you know, you gotta respect it. You gotta respect that hustle.
Yep, we're also seeing up north, WitchDoctor is investing quite heavily into a bunch of infantry to try and take out Northern Town, and I do like his angle of approach. He really just needs to kind of send it all in. I mean, you're in B phase now, both sides of Maverick. We've got loads of money to throw around, so now's the time you do the crazy ballsy push.
Well, right now, too, there's actually this MG should really just be unloading on these. If nothing else, he slows down that entire... There we go. So, this push should be turned into, no! Fire!
Oh,
What a...
wants to
what a
see the
messed
right
up
of the
plan.
eyes, I'm guessing.
You know, and that's great, but thankfully these machine guns actually work from a greater distance than that, so I'm not entirely sure what that was.
It seems like it's a shame that WitchDoctor didn't have a bit of smoke of that push, because he probably would have been a lot less bloody. He is actually getting into the town at least, but still.
Marquee SARs, in my mind, the Stens are nice, don't get me wrong, but
Some Molotovs. Some Molotovs are actually pretty good.
yeah,
They can get within 100.
That's true. Southern side, the flight does go back right back to the 12-12 here. And this MG42 has this entire push in the flank, and it's not firing. Like, you know, you admire a man who wants to go and just really make it a mono kind of action, but this is not that moment.
Maybe because he's in a place of worship. In the
You know, I
church.
hadn't thought about that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Can't kill on holy ground.
You know, we can kill on holy ground, though, is that big honkin' IG-33. Also, Sherman's going to get engaged here by Sicherungs and this push of 39Hs. So, going to cause some just a tiny bit of hassle, just in time for the 39Hs to come in and start plinking rounds away. For the 139H to come in and start plinking around away.
Yeah, you know, Khan. The Sherman has stabilizers, which allows it to shoot really quickly.
You know, I've heard about them.
Yeah.
Mysterious thing, stabilizers.
It is quite mysterious, but very lucky for its doctor, yeah. Oh yeah, not too lucky. I mean, the Panda 39H is going to have a very, very, very hard time penetration at Sherman.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right there. We are actually, though, in almost through Phase B, and you know what? That machine gun kind of just said, I don't need to get myself involved between that IG-33 and the 47 mil, and heck, even the Kriegsmarine Besatzung. It's just, it turned those Marquis SARs into jelly, the OS leader went down, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. It was a pretty decent push initially for WitchDoctor. He just needed some fire support and really smoke support. Because a good bit of smoke pretty much would have shut down the IG-33 and 47mm from doing too much damage. I mean, you see up north on the plateau, he does have a good amount of fire support with all the machine guns and tanks share, but that's not really going to be pushing any red towards it. Well, okay, I see what he's doing. He's off-map artillery northern side of the town, and now he has a bunch of infantry, which are going a bit of a slow route.
Well, they're rallies, and he's got another 2 or 3 dropping a little bit lower. I'm still not the fondest of this because there still are those 81 mils, and he knows that they're there, but he's been taking fire from the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I don't think he's really been able to appreciate quite so much just yet is there's still a 152 off, well, on map, 2 of them in fact, and they're engaging targets to the south, but those could just as easily turn their attention to someplace a little bit more northern. Oh no, and the infantry outside of their trucks. That was a mistake.
Yep. That's gonna buy Tanner enough time to rally his troops and get back into that northern town. And we've got 2 Stugs here as well, the 105 backing him up. Yeah, I think Tanner's gonna be pretty fine in holding this northern attack. Oh, the pacifist MG42 paid the price of his pacifism.
Well, and I think that's just a good parable that he who doesn't have stomach for this fight, maybe he should go on leave. Down to the south, Brandenburger is going on in, and yeah, these guys, I always feel these are like souped up pioneers.
Yeah, they are rather nasty troops, high veterancy, great firepower, and as you've seen, really paying themselves off in this engagement here, using up a lot of their ammunition.
Yep, using up their ammunition, sure, but taking on those rallies are surprisingly beefy.
Yeah.
And you can see right now they're very plucky. They're not giving in very quickly here either. Unfortunately, getting caught on two sides here. It's gonna be three sides. The Kriegsmarine Pioneers have decided to get down there. And really without a whole lot of support. We've seen a couple M8s coming in. We see some Marquis Sards, a couple 76 Shermans. But I don't know if WitchDoctor is trusting in a higher power or what the thought process might be. It seems a little kind of knee-jerky if you watch this match thus far, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Like, we're seeing, like, his northern push develop here. And at close range, his infantry is going to perform quite well. But Tanner just has more fire support on the field.
Yep. That's absolutely correct. And that consistent firepower here is really going to cause a lot of hassles.
Yeah. Oh, I do like Cooler up north. WitchDoctor has a rifles troop just kind of going on a bit of a country tour.
Oh no, that guy's been there for about the last 10 or 15 minutes. He was one of those guys who got deployed early and then just kind of sat there. So I think he's just, for the sake of the game, I think he's just outside of radio contact. Just like those rallies right now are just getting pounded by mortars. Jeez, those are accurate.
Yeah, it's such a clumped up location as well. Like, he's going to be paying the iron price.
The only lucky thing here is those mortars ran out of ammunition. Oh no, so the rifle's getting involved. There, you're right. I'm sorry. So the Kriegsmarine Infantry, if they get out, yep, this is where those rifles are going to have some problems.
Yeah, long range. Oh no.
Over open
If
ground,
he keeps on running, he can kind of use the hill to block line of sight. But, I mean, Tanner already knows that the rifles aren't coming, so they're barely going to do any damage. They have no AT weapon either, so they are really just a distraction.
And the Stogs are coming in here too, just kind of pound.
Yeah.
A quick look back down to the southern side. More Marquis Stars being thrown out into the front. They're going to get a little bit of work done here, but I think it's more from a function of just a lot of Tanner's troops are just deployed to the western side of that flag, which I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to push heavy, especially at his point in the match. And Toulon is great, setting up defensive firing lines. And by God, Tanner...
Forgive me, I'm sorry, these Pioneers real quick. They're going to die here in just a moment, but took out an M8, took out another M8, spotting for the trucks and things like that. Now between sharpshoots and 75 mils, yeah, this push I think is not dead, but it's certainly on its last legs already, I would argue.
Yeah, just the overwhelming firepower. Got the mortars firing in now. I mean, the 76 Sherman and the M5 Stuart, pretty good tanks, but if they poke their head out on the western side of that forest, they're not going to be long for the road.
No. You are absolutely correct, sir. And there's enough firepower now from anti-air that the P-47s are completely worthless here, which is such a shame. M10 tank destroyer going down to a 105 flak 38. And Stewart's trying to flank around a little bit. Very interesting decision.
Yep, he's probably going to pay for it quite quickly with all the anti-tank on the other side of the forest. And indeed he does.
You are very correct, sir. Just those Pioneers, though, too. So, the 76 upgun is still, again, decent. But like I said to you, one by one, if these vehicles go down over here for the Americans, they can't fall back on anything else. They have nothing else to fall back on.
Yeah, I mean, he actually does have heavy artillery in his deck. We just haven't really seen it being used. Like, honestly, the Long Toms, especially against Toulon, is a great idea. Because a lot of Toulon's firepower isn't tanks. I mean, there's a few stugs. You just need to blow up the 105s, the Pack 40s, the mortars. And you need, a bit of long-range, heavy-duty artillery of your own to really counter Toulon's squishy static targets.
I have an idiot question for you.
Shoot.
An M42, is that just like a modified Thompson?
Is that the OSS leader weapon?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's some weird, janky submachine gun which went into American trials but never really passed, but they just gave it to the OSS guys.
Ah, this is one of those secret weapons of World War II things. It's like a Battlefront kind of thing.
It's like something which would be in like Battlefield 5 as like a weird unlock.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I hesitate to say to take this to a times two, but I will say, Witch Doctor's really got to pull something out of his hat here to kind of get this back under control, and I don't know if he's got that.
I think a times 2 at 2510 is quite
A reasonable call.
satisfactory.
Okay, well, there you go. Times two then.
Indeed. And it's quite funny watching these replays and knowing... I mean, we always kind of know when it ends because it says in the replay, but we just pretend. Anyway, breaking the fourth rule aside, in the actual gameplay aspect, like, knowing that it's going to end in 30 minutes or so really does, like, you know, changes up the pace, especially for the players as well, of reintroducing some sort of time limit.
And like right now, for example, we're seeing these kind of weird push from Stewart's being moved in. We see M4, the 76 mils going in from the northern side. So Panzerjäger going to be engaging some other stuff. We got some weird infantry push on the northern side. Stokes going in every single direction. So yeah, it creates a little bit of chaos. And I think, as much as Peter Baelish would say it, chaos is a ladder. And I think we get to see a lot of fun action when people are trying to go to get and climb said ladder.
Yeah.
76 mils are down. The Stewarts are charging through. We have some weird, janky nonsense going on. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Little Stuart light tank attack. He actually might get to the rear and blow up some of these artillery guns, which would be quite fun.
I imagine for everybody but the artillery positions, but you're right. Well, the funny thing is that they are now completely cut off. So they could have their own like little cavalry charge, but to what end? Is that just an FU at this point? Is that the way to go through this?
At this point, I would say so. He's pretty much bucket. I mean, we're seeing just a massive push up north here from Tanner. Pretty much just sealing the deal.
We found this that long time we were talking about there, and I think, like you said, had we seen a little bit more active support packages for the Americans, for the Allies, because there are more than just Americans suffering here, we would have seen a far more pleasing result, I think, for Witch Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, the American infantry isn't, like... They're not good by themselves. They're extremely plucky and, like, beefy squads to try and kill. But, like, the lack of... I'd say, okay, lack of anti-tank isn't too bad in this sort of matchup, but lack of long-range machine gun fire definitely is quite bad. And especially on a map like this, where it is quite a lot of long-range firefights between the forests and towns, you need something with a little bit of extra boom to take the victory. And there we go, it's the 30 minutes, and that's the GG.
And I can see right here, yep, the kills are a little bit more, let's say, extended here. And I think a lot of that was brought down from the case of just the Americans could not get a whole lot of killy stuff. Meanwhile, the converse, very much not true. Taufer, for example, or Teufel, perhaps, I'm not sure how to say that with A-U-E. But, 3 Greyhounds, he's got himself a 76, he's got an off-map. Extremely well done there. Flak 38, he's got, 3 kills plus an infantry foot slogger. And those guys, the major men doing the work. But regardless, we saw a lot more efficient, I would argue, on-map and off-map artillery fire.
Yeah, just great use of all the pretty much static weapons which Toulon has available. Because you just use them to blow the crap out of the enemy front line, and then you send in the Kriegsmarine to fight the land battle.
Which is kind of a weird thing to say, to send in the Kriegsmarine.
Yes.
But, regardless, well done over here to Pierre Tanner. Unfortunately, Witch Doctor could not work his juju over here. But, hey, sometimes, some days are the windshield and some days are the bug, and unfortunately, I think we saw who was driving that particular VW today.
Indeed.
But folks, we have some more 30-minute action happening over here on Thursday. So, Ryan, do you have anything else to add, sir?
No, not today.
Well, folks, and in that case, then come back on Thursday to see what Ryan has to add then. Until then, I'm Conalwork.
I'm Rangaroo, take it easy.